I watched something profound in the African wilderness that changed my perspective forever. A majestic lion stood atop a hill, completely still. Yet every creature in the savannah was aware of his presence. He wasn't chasing, wasn't pursuing, he was simply being who he was created to be. And in that moment of stillness, I understood one of the most powerful principles of influence. That lion never woke up wondering if the gazelles would respect him today. He never questioned his position in the jungle. He never had to announce his arrival or convince others of his worth. His very nature commanded attention. This is the first key I want to share with you today. True influence doesn't chase. It attracts. Look at your hands for a moment. Within those hands lies the same potential for greatness as that lion. But many of us have it backward. We're running around trying to convince people to follow us, trying to prove our worth, trying to gather a following. And the more we chase, the faster they run away. I've seen this pattern repeated in businesses, in relationships, in leadership positions, people exhausting themselves trying to pursue others, when the real power lies in becoming someone worth following. The lioness doesn't have to convince her cubs to follow her. They naturally do, because she embodies everything they need to survive and thrive. Stop chasing people and start embodying excellence. When you understand this principle, you begin to realize that the energy you've been using to pursue others could be invested in developing yourself into someone who naturally attracts followers. The most influential people in your life, did they spend their time convincing you to follow them? No, they spent their time developing themselves, refining their character, honing their skills, and living with such authenticity that you were naturally drawn to them. That's the kind of influence that lasts. That's the kind of leadership that transforms lives. What kind of person are you becoming? Are you spending your energy chasing after people? Or are you investing in becoming someone worth following? People don't follow titles. They don't follow positions. They follow value. And value isn't something you can chase after. It's something you must become. The moment you begin pursuing someone, you automatically position yourself as less valuable than them. You're telling the universe, I need what you have more than you need what I have now. That's a dangerous position to be in. I was speaking with a young businessman recently. He told me, I keep calling potential clients every day. But the more I chase them, the less interested they see my smile, because I've seen this pattern countless times. When you're constantly pursuing, you're operating from a position of desperation, not destination. And people can sense that energy, they can feel it. In nature, everything valuable attracts. Gold doesn't chase after people, people chase after gold. Diamonds don't pursue anyone, everyone pursues diamonds. Why? Because these elements have inherent value. They don't need to convince anyone of their worth. Their worth is self-evident. The law of attraction isn't just some mystical concept, it's a fundamental principle of life. Everything in nature moves toward that which can sustain it. Develop it. Enhance it. When you focus on chasing others, you're actually moving away from this natural law. You're saying, I don't have enough value on my own, so I need to pursue others to give me value. When you shift your focus from pursuing others to developing yourself, something magical happens. You begin to understand that your value isn't determined by who follows you, but by who you become. Every time you invest in your growth, every time you develop a new skill, every time you strengthen your character, you're increasing your attractive force. I remember observing a group of young leaders, the ones who were constantly trying to gather followers, always pushing their agenda, always trying to be seen. They struggled to maintain any lasting influence. But there was one individual who focused entirely on developing himself, on solving problems, on creating value. And without any pursuit on his part, people naturally began to gravitate toward him. The power of self-development is that it creates an authentic gravitational pull. When you're genuinely growing, genuinely developing, genuinely becoming more valuable, you don't need to announce it. People will notice. They'll sense it. They'll be drawn to it. It's like a flower that doesn't need to announce its fragrance. Its very nature attracts what it needs. This is why I'm passionate about helping you understand this principle. The energy you're using to chase people, imagine if you redirected that same energy into personal development. Imagine if instead of pursuing followers, you pursued excellence. Instead of chasing opportunities, you became the opportunity that others chase. The moment you stop chasing and start developing, you become magnetic. But this isn't about manipulation or strategy. It's about transformation. It's about becoming someone who naturally attracts the right people, the right opportunities, the right connections. Because when you focus on your personal growth, you create a vacuum that draws others toward you. And that leads us to something even more fundamental, understanding how your identity shapes your attractive force. You don't attract what you want. You attract who you are. Who you are is more powerful than what you do. This is a principle that most people never grasp. They spend their entire lives doing things to attract others, when the real power lies in being. Your identity, the core of who you are, that's what determines your attraction. Every morning when you wake up, before you do anything, before you accomplish anything, before you achieve anything you have worth, but many of you don't believe this. You wake up thinking you need to prove your worth, earn your worth, demonstrate your worth. And that's where the problem begins. I watched a young woman in my organization once. She was talented, brilliant, capable, but she was constantly seeking validation. Every decision needed approval. Every achievement needed recognition. Every idea needed confirmation. And you know what happened? The more she sought validation, the less influence she had. Because when you're constantly seeking validation, you're telling everyone around you that you don't trust your own worth. Your identity is like gravity. It's a force that pulls things toward you naturally. When you understand your inherent worth, when you grasp who you really are, you stop trying to be something for everybody else. This is what I call authentic leadership. It's not about position, it's about disposition. It's not about titles, it's about identity. Authentic leadership flows from identity, not activity. When you know who you are, you don't need to prove who you are. Have you ever seen the sun trying to prove it's bright? Have you ever seen the ocean trying to prove it's deep? No, they simply are what they are. And their very nature attracts what belongs to them. But where many of you are stuck, you're trapped in validation-seeking behavior. Every time someone criticizes you, you feel the need to defend yourself. Every time someone disagrees with you, you feel the need to convince them. Every time someone doesn't follow you, you feel the need to pursue them. This is exhausting. And more importantly, it's unnecessary. The moment you start seeking validation is the moment you give away your power. Because now your worth is in someone else's hands. Your value is determined by their opinion. Your success is measured by their approval. This is a dangerous place to be. True leadership, authentic leadership, flows from a place of secure identity. When you know who you are, when you understand your inherent worth, you don't need to seek validation from others. You don't need to chase approval. You don't need to pursue recognition. You simply need to be who you were created to be. I remember mentoring a young leader who was constantly trying to copy other successful people. He would imitate their style. their speech, their mannerisms. And I told him, son, the world doesn't need another copy. The world needs the original you see. When you try to be someone else, you rob the world of who you were meant to be. And more importantly, you rob yourself of the authentic influence that comes from being genuinely you. This is why breaking free from validation-seeking behavior is crucial. It's not just about feeling better about yourself, it's about releasing your true potential. When you're not constantly seeking approval, you have the energy to create. When you're not constantly pursuing validation, you have the freedom to innovate. When you're not constantly chasing recognition, you have the power to truly lead. Your identity should be like a lighthouse, steady, unmovable, clear in its purpose. A lighthouse doesn't chase ships. It doesn't run up and down the shore trying to get attention. It simply stands there, shining its light. And ships naturally navigate toward it because they recognize its value. This understanding leads us to something crucial, the concept of the leadership vacuum. Because when you truly grasp your identity, when you stop chasing and start being, you create a space that naturally draws others toward you. In nature, there's a powerful principle at work. Every vacuum must be filled. It's as certain as gravity. When you remove air from a container, everything around it will fight to fill that space. This same principle applies to leadership and influence. But here's what most people don't understand. The vacuum isn't created by chasing. It's created by becoming. In any room, in any organization, in any situation, there's always a vacuum of leadership. There's always a space waiting to be filled by someone who embodies the solution others are seeking. But most people miss this opportunity because they're too busy chasing positions instead of developing disposition. I observed something fascinating in my years of working with organizations worldwide. In every crisis, in every challenge, in every problem, there's a vacuum waiting for someone to step into it. The question isn't whether the vacuum exists, the question is whether you're prepared to fill it. When something is missing, nature fights to fill it. When there's a gap in leadership, when there's a void in solutions, when there's an absence of answers, that's your opportunity. But here's the key: you don't fill that vacuum by pursuing it. You fill it by preparing for it. I remember watching a situation unfold in a major corporation. They were facing a significant challenge. And everyone was running around trying to position themselves as a solution. Everyone except one individual. This person had spent years developing expertise, building character, strengthening their capabilities. And when the crisis hit, they didn't need to chase the opportunity chased them. This is what I call the principle of preparation meeting opportunity. You see, the vacuum will always be filled by the most prepared person in the room. Not the most qualified on paper. Not the most aggressive in pursuit. But the most prepared in reality. But watch this: preparation isn't just about skills and knowledge. It's about becoming the solution before the problem arises. It's about developing the character that can handle the position before the position becomes available. It's about building the capacity that can carry the responsibility before the responsibility is given. Many of you are wondering why opportunities seem to pass you by. You're wondering why others seem to get positions you desire. Here's the truth: the vacuum doesn't respond to desire. It responds to preparation. It doesn't respond to ambition. It responds to development. It doesn't respond to pursuit. It responds to readiness. The most powerful position you can take is not one of pursuit, but one of preparation. When you focus on becoming valuable instead of chasing value, you create a vacuum that naturally draws opportunities to you. When you focus on solving problems instead of seeking positions, you become the solution that others naturally seek out. when you're truly prepared. You don't need to announce your readiness. The vacuum will find you. The opportunity will seek you out. The position will pursue you. Because nature abhors a vacuum. And it will always fill that space with whatever is most prepared to fill it. This understanding leads us to something crucial, the importance of building your core. Because you see, the vacuum isn't just looking for skills, it's looking for substance. It's not just looking for ability. It's looking for authenticity. And that substance, that authenticity, comes from building a solid core. Your core is like the foundation of a skyscraper. It determines how high you can build. Many people I meet are trying to build influence without first building their core. They want the penthouse view without laying the foundation. But that's not how lasting influence works. I want you to understand something powerful today. Your core isn't what you display. It's what you depend on when everything else fails. It's not your reputation. It's your character. It's not what people think about you. It's what's true about you when nobody's watching. Your standard is not what others expect from you. It's what you demand from yourself. I've observed something interesting about successful people. They don't have high standards because they're successful. They're successful because they have high standards. Your personal standards act like a filter, determining what you'll accept and what you'll reject in your life. I remember working with a young professional who was frustrated because people weren't taking him seriously. He had all the qualifications, all the certificates, all the right connections, but something was missing. When we dug deeper, we discovered that his personal standards were negotiable. He would compromise his values for convenience, adjust his principles for profit, modify his beliefs for benefit. And people could sense this inconsistency. Developing unshakable character isn't about being perfect. It's about being consistent. It's about having core values that don't change based on circumstances. When you have this kind of core, people can trust not just what you do, but who you are. Creating value within yourself is different from creating value for others. Before you can give value, you must become valuable. This isn't about accumulating information, it's about transformation. It's about developing the kind of core strength that can withstand pressure, overcome challenges, and maintain integrity even when it costs you something. The deeper the roots, the higher it can grow, the stronger the core, the more fruit it can bear. The same principle applies to your life. Your influence can only grow as deep as your core is strong. Your impact can only extend as far as your character can support. Building your core, it's not a destination, it's a daily decision. Every time you choose integrity over convenience, you're strengthening your core. Every time you maintain your standards, even when it's difficult, you're building your foundation. Every time you invest in personal growth, even when nobody notices, you're creating internal value. When your core is strong, you don't need to prove your worth to anyone. Your worth becomes self-evident. It shows in how you handle challenges, how you treat people, how you make decisions. This kind of core strength creates a natural magnetism that attracts the right opportunities and the right people. This brings us to understanding the magnetism of purpose. Because you see, a strong core without clear purpose is like having a powerful engine with nowhere to go. One of the most powerful forces in the universe is purpose. When you discover your purpose, you tap into a magnetic force that's greater than personality, greater than position, greater than popularity. Your purpose becomes your personal gravitational field. Everyone in this room was created to solve a problem. You are the answer to someone's question. You are the solution to someone's need. But many of you haven't discovered this yet. You're trying to attract people without first understanding your unique contribution to their lives. I've noticed that people who understand their purpose don't need to chase opportunities. Opportunities chase them. Why? Because purpose creates a natural point of attraction. It's like a magnet that draws the right people, the right resources, the right opportunities toward you. I remember meeting a young entrepreneur. She was brilliant, talented, but she was struggling to gain traction in her business. When I asked her about her purpose, she started telling me about making money, about being successful, about building a big company. I stopped her and said, that's not purpose, that's profit. Purpose is about the problem you're solving, the value you're adding, the difference you're making. Vision-driven leadership isn't about where you want to go. It's about who you need to become to get there. When you're driven by vision, you don't need to push people to follow you. Your vision becomes a compelling force that naturally attracts those who resonate with your purpose. Every major movement in history was led by someone who understood their unique contribution. They didn't chase followers. They pursued their purpose with such clarity and conviction that people couldn't help but follow. That's the power of purpose-driven leadership. Your purpose isn't something you create. It's something you discover. It's already within you. It's in your natural abilities, your deepest passions, your strongest convictions. When you align these elements, you create an unstoppable force of attraction. I've seen people transform from pursuing success to pursuing significance. When they made this shift, something remarkable happened. They stopped chasing opportunities and started attracting them. They stopped pursuing people and started drawing them. Why? Because purpose has a magnetic quality that success alone can never duplicate. This is what I call the principle of vision-driven leadership. Your vision isn't just about what you see, it's about what you help others see. When your vision is clear, when your purpose is evident, when your contribution is valuable, you create a field of attraction that naturally draws others toward you. Purpose without action is just potential. You must be willing to stand in your purpose, to operate in your purpose, to live your purpose daily. This is where most people miss it. They understand their purpose but don't embody it. They know their vision but don't live it. Remember, the magnetic force of purpose only works when it's activated through consistent action. When you understand your purpose, you naturally begin to create value in ways that others can't ignore. You realize that value creation isn't about what you get, it's about what you give. And the more value you create, the more indispensable you become. This is the secret that most people miss in their pursuit of influence. I discovered that people don't follow you because of what you want from them. They follow you because of what you contribute to them. Every person who becomes truly indispensable has mastered this principle of value creation. There's a difference between being important and being indispensable. Important people have positions. Indispensable people solve problems. Important people have authority. Indispensable people have influence. And here's the key: you become indispensable not by demanding value, but by creating it. I was working with an organization where everyone was competing for recognition. Everyone wanted to be seen as important. But there was one individual who focused solely on solving problems, while others were in meetings talking about problems. This person was in the field solving them, while others were writing reports about what needed to be done. This person was doing what needed to be done. And gradually, without any self-promotion, this person became indispensable. This is what I call solution-focused leadership. You see, every problem is an opportunity to create value. Every challenge is an opportunity to become indispensable. But most people run from problems. They avoid challenges. They don't realize that the very things they're running from are the things that could make them invaluable. The principle of servant leadership isn't about position. It's about disposition. It's not about being in charge. It's about taking care of those in your charge. When you understand this, you stop trying to be important and start focusing on being valuable. I've observed that the most influential leaders aren't those who command the most authority, but those who create the most value. They don't demand respect. They earn it through their contribution. They don't seek followers. They attract them through their service. In any marketplace, the most valuable product or service is the one that solves the biggest problem or meets the greatest need. The same principle applies to leadership. Your value isn't determined by your title. It's determined by your contribution. Your influence isn't measured by your position. It's measured by your impact. Creating value isn't a one-time event. It's a lifestyle. It's not about doing one big thing. It's about consistently doing the right things. It's about developing the habit of asking, how can I add value here? How can I make this better? How can I solve this problem? When you focus on creating value, you never have to worry about being valuable. When you focus on solving problems, you never have to worry about being relevant. When you focus on serving others, you never have to worry about having followers. How to apply these principles in your daily life? Because you see, all these principles become powerful only when you know how to implement them. Now, let me show you how to turn everything we've discussed into daily reality. Because principles without practice are just theory, and theory without application is just information. But when you apply these principles daily, that's when transformation happens. The first thing you do when you wake up every morning before you check your phone, before you check your emails, before you check social media is invest in your personal growth. What you do first thing in the morning determines your direction for the day. If you start your day chasing information, you'll spend your day chasing everything else. People can tell the difference between someone who wants something from them and someone who wants something for them. When you focus on adding value to others without expecting anything in return, you create what I call sustainable influence. Look at your daily habits. Every habit is either building your influence or diminishing it. There's no neutral ground. When you read, when you think, when you create, when you serve, you're building sustainable influence. When you waste time, when you complain, when you blame, when you make excuses, you're diminishing your influence. Start each day by asking yourself, how can I add value to someone today? Not, how can I get something from someone, but how can I add value to someone? This simple shift in thinking will transform your relationships. Sustainable influence isn't built in a day, but it is built daily. Every time you choose growth over comfort, every time you choose service over self-interest, every time you choose adding value over taking value, you're building sustainable influence. The power to influence others has always been within you. You don't need to chase it, pursue it, or beg for it. What you need to do is become it, starting right now, in this moment. Make a decision that you will stop chasing people and start developing yourself. Remember, the lion doesn't need to announce its presence. The sun doesn't need to prove its brightness. And you don't need to convince others of your worth. Your worth is inherent. Your value is intrinsic. Your potential is unlimited. Today, you have a choice. You can continue running after people, exhausting yourself in pursuit of followers. Or you can make the powerful decision to become someone worth following, to develop your core, to live your purpose, to create value that's undeniable. Not the person you're trying to be, not the person others want you to be, but the authentic, purposeful, valuable person you were created to be. When you become that person, you won't need to chase anyone. They will naturally be drawn to the value you create. the purpose you live, and the authentic leadership you embody.